Today we are going to be making a tier list of 10 affordable to mid-level watch brands, and we are going to see where they go from top dog to trash. I know some of these have been done in the past, sometimes in upper levels, and some are very popular, but I thought that I might take my own spin on it. And even though I'm no expert, I have some expertise on these watches I have been collecting for a few years, and this is out of my own mind, and there's also a bit of humor in here. So please don't take these the wrong way if I put one of your favorite brands somewhere where you wouldn't want it to be. If you don't agree with me, please do tell me so in the comments, and do tell me where you would put these brands yourself. Let's go right away, and let's start by one of my favorite brands all time, and that is Seiko. Seiko, when I started collecting, I started with Seiko. Actually no, I started with Tissot, but I really afterwards very soon came to Seiko. And Seiko, like 5-6 years ago, offered the best bang per buck ever. Many people talked about that at the time. Of course, TGV and many other channels. I had like 20 Seikos, something like that. A good example of that is my amazing Sarb Alpinist in here. Amazing value, $400 for an outstanding watch. These and the Sarb 033 and the SKX, of course, were the epitome of what Seiko represented. But then, around 2018-19, Seiko completely changed ways and went up markets all the way without offering much more. And that is what we aficionados did not like about the modern Seiko. Well, a lot of time has passed since then. We have kind of swallowed the pill, and right now, where does Seiko stand? I believe that they have still to gain that aficionado crown. Their move was ballsy, but it kind of paid off somehow. They have deceived their core audience, but they kind of are climbing back somehow, but they're not giving the quality that they should be giving and that is expected of them at the price points. I mean, they're still decent watches, but the value still isn't there. There are so many brands from Seiko, and I will say that the rebranding of everything in 2019 at least gave some clarity to the different range, and now you have clearly defined Presage, you have Astron, you have Prospect, so you have very defined things. Seiko 5, of course, and they do give a lot of value. However, gone are the days where you could get an amazing Seiko 5 for $50. That was true, guys. That was true for those who did not live that day. And those days are just gone, sadly. That is why I cannot put Seiko on the master level. I would have put them there before even top dog at the time. So from a value point of view, I will just put them on decent. Let's go to Daniel Wellington. And these, come on, we're in 2024. This brand is pretty much dead. Millennials and the Z generation have just moved away from this brand gladly. I just put it here just so I can put something in the trash department. And that is, come on, you guys are savvy, you know about this stuff. These brands, Daniel Wellington, Movement, Vincero, and so many of these fashion brands, not only them, but fashion brands like Hugo Boss and whatever luxury clothing selling brand that is trying to produce watches, wherever they put their name on a watch, you know it's gonna be overpriced crap. And yeah, so I put Daniel Wellington in here just so to represent all of these fashion brands. They're just overpriced pieces of crap, not even built from cheap materials with cheap quartz watches on them that are worth maybe $2 to $4 to manufacture. They're just not worth your hard-earned cash, and you know that by now. Hamilton is going to be a hard one. It is part of the Swatch group, even though it was initially an American brand founded in the late 19th century. It is part of the mid-tier offering from Swatch, and they have given us amazing watches. I mean, they have a lot of military heritage, and they did take advantage of that with the Khaki series. Best watches I've had. The winding was amazing. It punched way above its weight, and at the time I bought it for around $350, not even $400. Now they're trying to sell it for $600. And that is a problem I'm going to be having with these Swiss brands. They have moved a lot of market. Some of it is due to the rising value of the Swiss franc, but a lot of it is due to marketing as well. That will be my first problem with the Swiss brands in general. But then Hamilton itself has doubled down on that. Hamilton, as you might know, Hamilton has a lot of movie deals on such movies as Interstellar. Now on Dune Part 2 they have appeared, so they do have that presence. However, that leads them to really overprice these watches. For example, the Murph 38mm and even the 42mm that came before it is priced close to 1,000 euros. That is too much for a watch that just gives a time, that has no complications at all. And the epitome of these is what they have done with the Dune 2 watch. It is a Ventura, a quartz Ventura at that, a bit modified to look different, with some makeup on it, and they have priced that at 2,500 euros. That is just undecent for what this watch is proposing. So for the rich history, I'm gonna put Hamilton on decent, but they are on thin ice, pulling the stuff that they're pulling right now. Let's go to Invicta. And Invicta is mostly 95% of the stuff they do is trash. Ugly watches, very badly made. You might not know this, but Invicta is a Swiss historic brand founded in the 1830s, 40s, I believe. It is way older than Rolex, it is even older than AP, and it might be slightly older than Patek Philippe even. They did do some very nice stuff back in the day, but in the 80s they were bought by some awful conglomerate which placed them really badly and made them market their watches just awfully. Just forget about it. The as seen on TV stuff, you know, the kind of watches that, oh, look at my Pro Diver with the RP of $1,000, but just for today we can have it for $79. That kind of stuff is just wrong. If you combine those sale tactics with the 95% awful models, it gives a brand that goes in the don't buy. You might want to call me a hypocrite because I have suggested models from Invicta, but I have suggested just the two models that I believe give some value for what they offer. For example, the 1953, which is very nice, a copy of the Submariner from 1953, of course, but it is really well made for the price of around $110. And of course, the Pro Diver, which gives you a lot for the money. On sale you can have it for under $50, and that comes with a Seiko H35 movement on it. It is stainless steel all over, and it has 200 meters of water resistance, so the whole package is very good for the money. And it looks good because it does look like a 5 digits of Mariner, so that is just great. And on their 5% of their offering, they're just offering good deals, so that part is decent, but 95% of what they offer is pretty much crap, so I have to put them in kind of in between in the don't buy category. Orient. Orient is a strange animal. Orient is a watch that is beloved by watch lovers that love value. Some people will say that Orient is owned by Seiko. It is not true. They're both owned by the Epson group, but they do share some movement architecture and some other stuff whenever it is convenient for them. In the last 10 years, Orient has really been on the radar of watch aficionados as ourselves, because of pretty much 2 or 3 models. And that is of course the Meiko and the Ray, as of late the Kamasu, which is a wonderful watch, and of course the more dressy Bambinos. If I had done this tier 2 years ago, I would have put Orient on the master tier. However, they kind of screwed up last year when they released a 40mm diver with a huge blunder. It had a huge misprint on the minute markers, which were spaced just wrong. And a company, especially a Japanese company, which prides itself on their QC, just cannot do this kind of stuff and call themselves masters. So for that, I just think that Orient right now makes a decent watch. Excellent value. I own a Kamasu, I have owned many Bambinos, I have owned many Orient watches, I will own them again. I have owned them I own them and I will own them again, but right now, because of the latest blunder, I can only put them on decent. Swatch. Swatch. Swatch, I'm just talking about the brand, not the group in here. Swatch is a hard one. Let's see Swatch first without the moon swatch. So Swatch makes a decent watch. Swatch saved the Swiss watch industry from collapse in the early 1980s, giving a fresh alternative to what was before the grandfather's watch, an industry that was collapsing, and they gave a fresh look to the Swiss watch industry, one that is totally opposed to the idea of a watch being a luxury item, even a Swiss watch. The idea was that you have a second watch that is fun, that doesn't take itself too seriously. Look at the early models. However, right now, in the late 2010s, they even came out with the System 51, a movement that was made out of 51 pieces, totally manufactured by machines. And that allowed Swatch to make economies of scale and to make these watches in Switzerland. And that was a great move, and they could scale up this kind of movement to put it on their upper level brands, and they came up with the H50s, with the H-series movements for Hamilton, with the Powermatic 80s for Tissot, and all that, based on these good presets. However, right now, they are suffering from what I said about the Swiss watch industry. They are placing themselves a bit too highly. There are some great looking chronographs from themselves that have come out lately. I think it is the Earth or something series, something like that. They look beautiful, but they're quartz chronographs and they cost close to 300 euros. That is too much for a chronograph. And the other watches of the series, they cost 230 euros, something like that, for watches that are just quartz watches. Well, nice looking, but just quartz watches. Come on, get a grip. I would pick anything from China, or even from Japan, lower level Japan, even Timex. Timex makes much better chronographs at this price point than what Swatch offers right now and at better prices. So Swatch for now would go into the don't buy. Let's briefly talk about the Moon Swatch. The Moon Swatch, marketing wise, was a great move. Wonderful. Quality wise, it was awful. You guys who follow the channel know that I hate the quality of the Moon Swatch. I like what it represents, but I hate the quality. Now they have come with Snoopy. I have to confess that I would love to own a Snoopy. I would never queue for it, and I would never buy it over retail. The Snoopy is 310 euros. That is too much for a watch that is essentially a plastic watch. Let's get real, guys. It is a plastic watch. Well, all that and the rich history, I might get crucified right now, but I do believe there are much better options right now than Swatch. So right now, I would put them in the don't buy. Casio. Let's leave Casio for the end because we have to talk about Casio. Let's leave Citizen to the end also. Okay, Tissot. Tissot is a great Swiss brand, founded in 1853, like they love to remind us so much, and their offering is just great. They suffer from the same syndrome as the other brands from the Swatch group. They have up prices a bit, but not as much as the other brands. A PRX costs about as much right now as it cost when it came out. They also have the Gentleman. They have many other series. They have delved on pretty decent skeleton watches. PRX did something that was needed in the watch industry, called to a younger audience. And I do see some youngsters, for me, 20, in their 20s, wearing PRXs. And that just gives me hope for the future and makes me thank Tissot. Actually, Tissot was my first automatic watch when I just started collecting 10 years ago. And I loved my PRS 516. That was my first ever automatic watch. And I just loved it. The quality was great for the price. The movement was an ETA 2836, I believe, which was wonderful. Nothing wrong about ETAs. It was precise, it was just nothing bad to say about Tissot, just good things to say about Tissot. If you put that with the PRX and the impact that it has had on the watch world and the fact that they have not upped prices too much, there's the slight controversy about them putting plastic parts on their movements. That just leaves a small bad taste in the mouth. But if you go to one of their watch centers, they will not charge you more to repair. But I don't think that that detracts completely from the brand, from what they're trying to do. So right now, I'm hesitating on putting them on Master or on Decent. I will put them on the Master, come on, let's give them a chance, even though I know about the plastic movements. But yeah, we'll give them a chance, we'll put them on the Master category. It is the first one to be there, Timex. Timex is a historic brand, an American brand, founded all the way back in 1854. So it does have some history. Timex was the Casio of its era. Timex always has been a brand for the working man, offering great watches at low prices. They have worked so hard to democratize the wristwatch, and right now they're just killing it. A few years back they came back with their historic series, with the Q series, and that just blew everybody out of the water. That was a great move. They came with the Morning as well, using mechanical movements. Right now they're doubling down on that. They have collaboration with Snoopy, much better than some other brands. And what they do is just great. They have chronographs at the same price of Swatch that just blow them out of the water. When you tick on the chronograph, it gives you the smooth sweep as well on most of our chronographs. So that is just attention to details. I'm just calling also to the aficionados that we are, not only to the main public like Swatch is doing. So that is just great. So for that, I do believe, and I'm happy to put Timex on the Masters as well. Citizen. If you had asked me 3 years ago, Citizen was at the bottom of the trio of Japanese brands. Seiko being top dog, Orient being the follower, and Citizen just, yeah, the poor parent. It had its former glory with the Pro Masters, but it is a design that is aging. They didn't have anything exciting. And then came the Tsuyosa. The Tsuyosa changed everything for them. Right now, it is one of the hottest watches out there. It sells like hotcakes, and even them, in 2022 when it came out, even themselves did not expect such a demand. We had to wait months to get the Tsuyosa. They have declined it in many series, and just to show you that they're not a one-trick pony, they go on many levels. They go with the Tsuyosas, but they also go on other tiers. They go on the 8 series right now, which is a watch that I don't particularly like, but you can see that it is a great looking watch, offering a lot for the money. You had the 9 series before, you have high-level quartz movements on them, and you even have the turning forks movements. They have even founded a new brand. I'm talking about the Citizen Group here. They have founded a new brand, the Accutron, releasing, of course, much more expensive watches, but harking back to that turning fork era. That is great. About last year, they released the 9075 GMT movement, a true GMT movement, which brings true GMT movements to the middle ground, to the mid-market, which is great. Thank you, Citizen. And if you go back to the Tsuyosa, from 2022 to now we have a lot of inflation, but they have not upped their prices. The 2022 Tsuyosa cost 299 euros, the 2024 Tsuyosa, the base model, cost 299 euros. They have even released the small seconds a few weeks ago. I have a review on that, check it out, which looks amazing, and you can find it online for 350 euros. Which for a Gshock dial is just insane, really insane, the value they're offering, and they are respecting their customers, something that many brands don't do now. From Switzerland, from Japan, they're not respecting their customers. Citizen does. So only for that and for their great offerings, Citizen deserves the top dog spot. Let's go to Casio. Casio is a darling of the watch world. Casio makes only quartz watches, digital or or analog. They go for many ranges. Casio specializes on the $15 to $100 range. They have amazing offerings in there. However, they go with their Gshock MRG series, they go way up into the thousands and thousands. Where the value resides with Casio is on that below $100, and on that respect they're unbeatable. Casio makes fashion icons, makes amazing watches for under $30. Think, of course, the F91. Think the calculator watch, a watch that was on the wrist of my generation and that made us dream. Casio are just masters. However, last year they just blew it. They blew it with the Duro. The Duro was a darning watch. Wonderful. I have reviewed it here many times. It is a $50 watch that even Bill Gates owned. You know about this, come on. That is just a wonderful watch. 200-meter water resistant, greatly made, nothing to add to it. However, they released last year 38mm version, which was a great move. Everybody was clamoring for a smaller version of this watch. However, it was not a 38, it was a 36. That is a bit too small, and it just gave us 50 meters of water resistance. Come on, how to destroy an icon? The Duro was, above all, a diver watch. Why go from 200 meters to 50? Doesn't make sense at all. And why go to 36? This is mostly a man's watch. Even a woman's watch at 38, it was extremely simple. Casio, it is frustrating. Take the base Duro, make it at 40, 39, 40, keep the 200 meters of water resistance and call it a day. That is all you had to do. Why did you blow it so much? Besides from that, I would have put Casio on the top dog if you had asked me last year. And then they go ahead and they release this Casio Tron, this €500 remake of their first digital watch from 1974. It is great that they're celebrating stuff. Casio stands for inclusivity for all. Take the F91. The F91 is a watch that most of the world can afford. When I say world, I say a big majority of the adults in the world can buy themselves an F91. That is wonderful, the democratization of the wristwatch. And then they go ahead and they release this $500 digital watch that goes against what Casio does. I know that it was a limited watch and whatever, but yeah, I think it gives the wrong message. Are they going to be the next Seiko releasing so many limited editions? So yeah, I would have put, last year I would have put them on top dog. Right now, I believe they are just masters. I love Casio. It is one of my favorite brands because of what they offer. The G-Shocks are legends and because of their democratization of the watch. But right now, because of what I have done, they just belong in the masters tier. That has been all. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, this is just my opinion. Your tier list will certainly not be this one. Please do let me know where you would put the different brands or if you would add another one. Thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.